Have you ever spent hours on tools like Canva trying to make social media content, just to end up with designs that look generic and fall flat? To avoid this, most companies need multiple people to work on one project, which requires even more resources. That's why I figured out the best workflow to create professional social media designs like these with just 2 tools. Once you understand how this system works, the design process becomes much more natural and everything starts to fit together. The 2 tools we're using are doing very different jobs. Claude is the strategist, the brain of the whole operation. You give it your brand details, it asks you smart questions, and then it writes a detailed prompt that tells OpenArt, our second tool, exactly what to generate. OpenArt is the executor. It's where we take Claude's output and produce the finished design without any manual editing on your end. The system runs in a loop that becomes second nature really fast. You brief Claude, it asks questions, and once you answer them, you get your prompts and paste them in OpenArt's image generation system to get back professional designs that are ready to be used for any brand in any niche. The first step is one that most people would skip, and it's the most important one in the entire workflow. You need to build what's called a brand sheet. This is a one-time setup, and it is the foundation that every single design you ever make with this system is built on. The brand sheet is a single image that captures your entire visual identity, with elements like your color palette, typography direction, and your general visual language. I'm heading into Claude now and pasting in the brand Claude prompt. This prompt tells Claude to act as a senior brand strategist. I'm filling in the brand name and giving a detailed description of what the brand is and what visual elements I want. You can also upload any existing visual references alongside it, like old logos or designs you've previously made. For this video, I'm using a fictional luxury Manhattan real estate brand called Arco Realty. So once everything's ready, I'll click Generate. Claude comes back with 2 things. First, an internal brand summary covering the visuals and what to always avoid. That part is just for your reference. The second thing it gives you is the brand OpenArt prompt, and this one is ready to be used. I'm switching over to OpenArt now. If you want to follow along with me and have professional social media designs by the end of this video, I've left a link to OpenArt in the description below. Once you log in, you'll see options for story, video, image, world, and audio on the navigation bar. What we're interested in to create our designs is image, so click on that. This takes you to the image generation workflow. The first thing you should do is set your model. I'm using GPT Image 2 because it produces high-end clean designs that follow my visual identity. I'll paste in the prompt Claude gave me and generate. The generation comes back fast, and what you get is a single high-resolution brand sheet image. The brand name is displayed prominently at the top. The color palette sits below it with every hex code. There are typography samples showing the heading and body font styles. The mood words are laid out as part of the design, and there's a visual language section showing the pattern and texture direction. The whole thing looks like something a premium design agency would hand you on day 1 of a project. This image is now your anchor for everything. Every single OpenArt prompt from this point forward gets this image uploaded alongside it, and that's what keeps every design consistent. And there's something even cooler about it that I want to mention before we move on. If you find a design style you love somewhere online, you can reference it alongside your brand sheet in the same OpenArt prompt, and GPT Image 2 will blend that style with your brand identity. But the brand sheet is just the foundation. Now I want to show you what you can actually build on top of it, and the first post type is the one you're going to use most often. Single posts are your everyday content. Product showcases, property listings, and menu items are some examples. Whatever your niche is, the same prompt structure works for all of it, which is something I genuinely love about this workflow. I'm heading back into Claude and pasting in the single post Claude prompt. I'm telling Claude the post type, which in this case is a property listing, and the niche, which is luxury real estate in Manhattan. I'm also attaching my brand sheet alongside it, so Claude already knows the visual identity before it asks me anything. And like I mentioned, Claude doesn't immediately write a prompt. It asks you questions first, like a real designer would ask before touching anything. Things like, what is the property type, what emotion should this post trigger, and generally things to gather valuable knowledge and write the perfect prompt for your post. It gives me up to 5 questions, and I'm answering them now. Once you've done that, Claude takes those answers and builds the single post OpenArt prompt. It's incredibly specific. It tells OpenArt exactly where the property photo goes, how the price should be displayed, where the specs sit, what font fonts to use and what to avoid. Every decision is already made based on my directions, and I don't need to do any of this manually. I'm pasting this into OpenArt now. For this step, I'm uploading 3 images: the brand sheet, the logo, and the property interior photo. The aspect ratio is 4:5 portrait, which is standard for Instagram. Let's generate. The property photo sits in a clean rectangular frame at the top. The text is accurate with the font I want, and the final output is ready to be posted. The brand sheet did exactly what it was supposed to do. The colors, the typography, and the spacing all match the identity we built in step 1 without me having to specify any of it again. Now, single posts are great for showcasing one thing at a time, but there's a whole other category of content that performs really well on social media, and it doesn't need a product photo at all. I'll show you that one next. Statement posts are text-based graphics built around one single powerful element, like a market stat, a bold claim, or a brand philosophy. The design principle is simple: one big, bold thing that stops the scroll, and everything else on the design exists to support that one element. I'm pasting in the statement post Claude prompt. I'm telling Claude my business type and what I want this post to achieve. In this case, I want to establish authority by sharing a market insight. Claude does something smart before it writes anything. It first identifies the right graphic format for my niche. For a data-driven brand like real estate, it picks a stat card. For a brand with a strong philosophy, it might choose a signature statement. And for a service business with measurable results, a result card. It tells me which format it chose and why in one sentence, then asks up to 4 tight questions to help me find my hero element. My hero element ends up being a market stat. As for the background, I'm not uploading any photos. I'm letting OpenArt generate a Manhattan penthouse interior that fits the brand on its own. Claude builds the prompt, and I'll paste it into OpenArt with just the brand sheet and logo. We get back this stat card where 31% is the undeniable visual anchor. Everything else, the label, the supporting copy, the tagline, is arranged in service of that one number. It's the kind of graphic that makes someone stop mid-scroll because there's one thing that hits them immediately. I actually ran this twice with 2 different stats: the 31% inventory card and a 6.2 meter average price card. Both came back with mirrored layouts, and they look like they belong in the same brand, but with 2 different stats, and together they tell a complete market story. That's the kind of content that builds authority over time, without you having to think too hard about what to post. Achievement posts work on a similar principle, but they're built for a very specific moment, and I want to show you 2 completely different ways to approach them. Every brand has moments worth announcing publicly. A product sold out, a project delivered, or a milestone crossed are all moments where the company gets lots of benefits from publicly celebrating. And this is what makes your post feel clean and professional instead of looking like a generic announcement. The design logic here is built around one hero word. For real estate, that's sold. For an agency, it might be launched or delivered. Everything else on the design, the supporting details, the tagline exists to frame that one word and give it weight similar to the statement post, but for a completely different reason. I'm pasting in the achievement Claude prompt and telling it what I'm announcing. Claude again asks up to 5 questions. Now here's where this step gets really interesting, because there are 2 completely different ways to approach the design itself. Approach A is where you upload your own property or product photos. The exterior and interior images become the background and inset, and the hero word sits right over the actual building. For this, you'd upload your brand sheet, your logo, and your property photos. Approach B is where you don't upload any product photos at all. Instead, you let OpenArt generate the atmospheric background itself. Let's test both. Approach A gives you something grounded and real with much more control over the visuals. Approach B gives you something more editorial and conceptual. From the same prompt structure, we get 2 completely different outputs, and both of them look like they came from a high-end agency. The carousel is the last step, and it's the most complex one in the whole workflow. But it's also the one that solves a problem that trips up almost everyone. Education carousels are multi-slide posts that give your audience real value before you ask them for anything, like tips, guides, how-tos, and breakdowns. They build authority, they reward the viewer for swiping, and they position your brand as the go-to source in your niche. But there's a problem with carousels and AI generation that almost nobody talks about. When you're generating multiple images separately, you get a visual drift. Each slide starts to look slightly different from the last, and the whole thing stops feeling like a cohesive series and starts looking like a collection of random images. This workflow solves that with a referencing system system that's genuinely clever, and once you understand it, it makes complete sense. But first, I'll paste in the carousel prompt, and I'm telling Claude the business type, the carousel topic, which is 5 things to check before buying a Manhattan apartment, and the number of slides I want. Claude comes back with the full content plan before writing a single OpenArt prompt. I'll review all of it, approve the content, and only then does Claude write the individual OpenArt prompts for every single slide. Now for the first referencing system I mentioned earlier, I'll first generate the hook slide in isolation. This means back in OpenArt's image generation, I'll upload just the brand sheet and logo. The reason you keep it isolated is because the hook slide has its own job. It's the first thing someone sees, so it needs to stand on its own without being influenced by any other slide's layout. I'll paste in the prompt and generate. Here it is, clean, bold, and immediately communicates what the carousel is about. Now slide 1 I'll also do in isolation. This one is the most important generation in the entire carousel because it'll be the visual template for every tip slide that follows. Let's generate it. It looks really good. Now the layout it lands on, the proportions, and where the typography sits, all of that becomes the standard for the next slides. So for slides 2 through 5, this is where the referencing system actually kicks in. For each one of these, I'm uploading the slide 1 image alongside the brand sheet and logo so nothing ends up drifting. I'll speed this up because the generation process is identical, and I'll show you all of them at once. Here they are. The only things changing across these slides are the content and the alternating background color. That's actually a great visual strategy. Odd slides get a dark charcoal background with off-white typography. Even slides get the off-white background with charcoal typography. It creates a visual rhythm as you swipe through, which captures the viewer's attention. Everything else stays locked. That's what makes this feel like a real designed series rather than a set of images that happen to share the same colors. And finally, the CTA slide I'll also do in isolation for the same reasons as the hook, with just the brand sheet and logo. Here it is. It closes the carousel with a clear direction and keeps the brand feeling tight all the way to the last swipe. In the end, we get 7 slides with one consistent visual system, and the whole thing looks like it was designed by someone who does this professionally. By using these 2 tools, you cover all bases, and you can create professional social media designs in just a few minutes with zero designer experience. So if you want to make your own high-quality designs, I've left a link to both OpenArt and Claude in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.